So we've just about made it to the end of the second week, and I have about 30 seconds, so 30 minutes before I manage to win the game, so I'd better do this recording while the fog of war is still on, because it looks better. So we started the previous, well, we finished the previous recording as I was chasing the remnants of teal across country. Brown had been eliminated by orange, and Olive and I had taken out teal. So I'd sent this this nice little attack rig to chase down teal's fleeing queen. Now it had occurred to me that Olive should have been working with teal to at least get some of his specialists and try and keep him alive. For example, I'd been concerned that this double agent in king was in fact going to be gifted to Olive. Apparently it wasn't, and Olive was doing a reasonable job of pretending that he was trying to take it over, but then not doing so. So, for example, at this point, the double agent king managed to actually capture a base, whereas Olive claimed that he didn't want the king, probably because that would have meant that he would have been unable to defend any of his outposts without the shields. So having the double agent and the king on the same ship was a bit of a disadvantage for Olive taking it. So he's ended up just taking that outpost Magellan rather than taking over the specialists. I, of course, was sort of quite interested in the king, if not for me, then to give to purple, who already has one and would therefore benefit from another one. So this sub going to Smith round here was intended to pick up the double agent king that I would have shuttled back if I was able to collect it at Magellan, because I've got a hypnotist coming up from the south, and I would have been able to charge in with a big enough force to take Magellan. Nevertheless, there's another little thing here, that teal was trying to drop saboteurs in his wake to slow me down. Because I had a navigator on board, I could have changed direction, but then I would have lost the lock on the sub, so I actually did have to go back to the start to chase him down again. That could have been done heaps better. For example, he could have launched earlier when he still had Magellan, and he could have launched the saboteurs further apart, so that I would have had to double back more often. Anyway, he stuffed that up and he got eliminated, and I managed to send the hypnotist on its way. Now, at this stage, there's a massive fight build-up going on with Olive, because we're now the two biggest players and natural rivals, and he desperately doesn't want me getting those specialists, whereas I do. I have the hypnotist. That's what I want to. That's what I want to achieve. So there's quite a lot of talk, and I offer him to give him the smuggler, just in the name of peace, and I de-escalated some other way. Oh yes, he was worried about me getting a double agent, which would basically mean that I could attack him without fear of retaliation. So I sent that away. He's run away with his queen out of my radar, and I do indeed give him the smuggler. So who to turn to next? Well, I think it's time to finish off Beige. He was never friendly with me anyway, and I've weakened him. So this is the battle for beige going on. There's one little bit of a misstep with Olive, which is that he's sent a sub to Nemo, which is sort of on my line of attack. So apparently beige was a bit annoyed by this. So after inheriting this sentry, I figured I'd just use it to support offensive operations, and the this particular guy here is still the main attack force. He can get round any defence with the helmsman and the navigator. So now beige is in retreat, and I can't really charge him down, particularly because Olive had a huge stack moving towards him, thinking, "Oh, this is all good." So I decide to go and clean up these dead outposts of brown, because there's some nice specialists, and I could really use an admiral because I've got all this production and it's very difficult to actually move it around. Meanwhile, purple is brawling a little bit with Olive, which suits me. I'm still sending gifts to purple. Purple's still brawling with Sky. I can't see exactly what's going on, and purple and I have decided to assist orange. So purple lent orange a hypnotist so that orange can get hold of quite a lot of captured specialists from Sky and from brown. So I'm going off the warpath a little bit to capture these two outposts and their specialists that are going to help me tactically quite a lot. However, over here, Olive has, instead of crushing beige, decided to gift him 250 subs. If that's not a sponsoring exercise, nothing is. So I've actually hired another intel officer to give myself massive vision and a little bit more radar range, or a bit more range on the sentry. So I've ended up doing maybe 50 or 60 damage to this enormous beast. So he can take my bases, and he loses 10 guys every base, and then I just go in behind and retake the base that he took. So after a little bit of this, I persuade him to go after orange, because I made a bit of a mistake. Orange was proving to be not a good neighbour to purple, and trying to steal some of his stuff, which is great as a brawler, but not what I thought he was a valuable ally. So I was thinking to sort of set up in Sivan, so I've just sent an admiral there at high speed, and of course I haven't noticed that orange has an admiral that's slightly closer, so orange nicks my unspotted admiral. I am an idiot. So that basically means that I'm no longer even pretending to be friendly to orange, even after I sent him a gift there, which then he promptly goes and doesn't use on Olive, which was sort of the point. So at this point, Sky is still alive and Red is still alive, because Olive has been refusing to actually get rid of them. So they're living as little sort of symbiotes in Olive's empire, and I figured that Olive is keeping them alive in order to get the benefit of their specialists. So really, purple and I had better get a wriggle on. Purple has done a couple of massive stuff ups and has let Olive capture both of his generals. So Orange rather has 4 generals, and is going to be quite difficult to dislodge. Even though purple has kings, I've still got two generals. So I actually suggest that, look, because I've got maneuverability, I'm actually a better person to be attacking. See, look at that. Double agent takes over a general. Should have seen that coming. So after after orange has moved to repel purple here, I move in and get a foothold. Orange then decides to start paying me more attention, and I need to divert my smuggler to reinforce Sandbar. And my smuggler isn't going to get back in time to take over Bilante, and that's 2 subs each with four generals behind them. You would think would take out Bilante, but by sending just a single specialist, bounces the first sub, and then actually gets run over by the second sub, and does 20 damage. So that's basically saved me 60 points. So that's my one piece of tactical trickeryness, and then the hypnotist comes in and I win all those specialists. Needless to say, purple was starting to feel a bit fragile, so we've come to a deal that firstly I offered for him to take all of my stuff so that he would come first and I would finish third. When that didn't look like it was practical, he then offered for me to take all of his stuff, which is arguably a better result given that I was propping him up for most of the game. However, I couldn't have done this without him, as he did almost all of the fighting, and I just, in order to make sure, I've been chatting to Olive the whole time and keeping the truce. We originally agreed on a truce until after the next player was eliminated, and then as it turns out nobody else was eliminated because Olive was keeping them alive, so we've actually kept up a truce for practically the whole game, and I've just fired off a couple of subs to take a few extra bases just to be on the safe side in case orange or beige does something odd. So, for example, here, beige, who came over here with the intention of trying to overtake orange, discovered that orange had already lost most of his territory there to purple, and instead of doing what I politely requested him doing and running down this sub here, he's said, "Bugger you, pink," and headed south. But I don't think he'll actually get to that base before the game ends. So sorry about that. So that was a crazily eventful second week that I'm sure I didn't do justice to. But for those who were part of this fish game, thanks very much. It was an awesome game. Every game unfolds differently, and I might take a break from this again. It can be a bit full on.